What the Fertility. Today we are sitting down with McKensie, who was diagnosed with endometriosis. She has her miracle daughter through several rounds of IVF and recently started to try for her second. So welcome, McKensie. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, ladies. I'm excited to be here and share my story.
We're so excited to hear it. So I would love to be just taken back from the beginning. If you could kind of just share with listeners how you even found out you had endo, because that's probably really the beginning of your whole journey to conception.
Yes. So actually back in college, I was having really bad periods and went to my OBGYN in Charlotte, and she was like, well, it could be a gluten allergy. And I was like, I don't think that I have these symptoms once a month from a gluten allergy. So she was like, try to cut out gluten and see if that works. So I tried it, but then again, I was 21, I think, at that time. And so and there wasn't a lot of gluten.
Yeah, lots of beer probably.
Yeah. And there wasn't like a lot of gluten-free options like there are now. Like it's so much easier to be gluten-free.
Yeah.
And then, so I went back after like 2 weeks of trying to cut out gluten. And in that time I'd had a horrible cycle. And she was like, well, the only way to diagnose endometriosis would be through laparoscopic surgery. And I was just like, again, 21 and was not thinking about my reproductive health. And I was like, I'm not having surgery right now. So she kind of dismissed me and didn't really like follow up. And there wasn't a lot of, still to this day, a lot of doctors not that educated on endometriosis. It's, there's more education out about it now. So she just kind of dismissed me, and I was just kind of like, whatever, and just dealt with the horrible periods and got on a different birth control to where I would only have 4 cycles a year instead of one every month.
Wow.
Just to like give me breaks because my periods were so bad. And so fast forward to when we got engaged, I got off birth control to get like my body ready because I'd been on birth control for so long. And that was probably the worst thing I could have done because the birth control was kind of curbing my endometriosis and keeping it from growing. And so getting off of it, it just sent it into like overdrive. I didn't know this all until it was a little too late. So then we got married in 2016. I went to that same doctor and had like the preconception conversation, just like, what do I need to be doing? Anything different? You know, can we do the prenatal testing and all that kind of stuff? And then she was very dismissive. She's like, I can't believe you've only been married for a month and already in here trying to have a baby. And I was like, okay, well, first of all, we're 31 and we both know that we want kids. And I'm just nervous that we're going to have issues.
And that's none of your business.
Like, right. I ended up leaving her. Like I left in the middle of the appointment. She upset me so much.
I can see you doing that. Good for you though. I mean,
yeah,
you clearly already had a difficult diagnosis. And I mean, gosh, it sounds like you were in a lot of pain, like planning your wedding, getting married, and wow.
Yeah. And so my sister-in-law is a nurse practitioner in Charlotte. So I called her and I was like, I need a good OBGYN, one that's, you know, understanding, will listen to me. And she's like, there's this one, she's newer, she's younger, but she's got fresh ideas. And so I went to this new OBGYN and I was her first kind of like infertility patient, even though we didn't know what we know now. And so she was like, normally they say try for a year and then come back. Well, she was like, since your age, when you know you want kids, let's try for 6 months and then we'll come back in. So that was in January. She told me that. I came back in July and she started doing all like the tests that she could do in the office to rule out things. And so she's like, well, right now you have unexplained infertility, which is like the worst thing to hear. Like,
the worst.
Like, I just want an answer, please. And so, you know, when you're at an OBGYN, the ultrasound techs, they don't have the ability to like explore. They're just told to go in and look at something. And then they go and look. So they don't get to explore. So she's like, I'm going to refer you to a fertility doctor. So she did. And he does the ultrasounds like in Charlotte, this fertility doctor does. And in the first like 2 minutes of the ultrasound, he was like, you have endometriosis. I can see it on the ultrasound.
See, that blows my mind because like you originally said a few minutes ago, you're like, it's still to this day, not really like an initial diagnosis because it's so invasive. I would always like push, like, do I have endo? Do I have endo? And my fertility doctor also did the scan and he's like, no, like your scan looks good. But I'm like, but how can you, I guess can you kind of tell a little bit?
Yeah. And like my ovaries were kind of like not where they were supposed to be.
That's exactly what he said. Like you can see by the position of them.
Yeah. And so he really wanted me to do surgery like right then and there. And I was just like stubborn. I was like, no, I'm ready to have a kid. I want to do an IUI. And I respect him because he did listen to me.
Yeah.
Even though he probably should have made me do the surgery first. So we did an IUI in November. So this was a year after we got married. And obviously didn't work. And being on all those meds, I think I did letrozole for that one. And it just, again, sent my endometriosis into overdrive. And it obviously didn't work. And so he was like, we can't do any more fertility treatments until you have surgery. So that was.
Do you mind me asking what other symptoms you had? I know you said you had really bad like cycles, but what other like endo symptoms did you have?
Bowel movements were really painful. I mean, the pain was so bad that I would throw up. It was
my gosh.
so painful. Those are like the main things.
Yeah.
Bowel movements would be painful like all throughout, because it would, when they did the surgery, they found out that it was like all over my colon too.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's crazy. So November is when he said I have surgery. Of course, I had to wait 3 months because he couldn't get me into the OR. It's always a waiting game with infertility. So I had the surgery in January of 2018 and ended up with stage 4 endometriosis. My right ovary was like in the center of my back. It was all over my colon. It was pretty bad. The surgery just normally takes like an hour and a half to 2 hours. It took 3.5 hours just to clean me out. So after that, he put me on birth control like immediately coming out of surgery, because he didn't want me to have a cycle while recovering, because he's like, that's just going to be so painful. So while I was recovering for the next 3 months, I was on birth control, and it's kind of nice. It was a forced break from all the stuff. I didn't have to think about anything. It was just living my life recovering from surgery, and recovery wasn't that bad, thankfully.
That's what I was going to ask you. Cause I mean, I feel like laparoscopic surgery in itself is pretty intense. And then for it to be 3 hours.
Yeah. I actually got really lucky. I mean, I was a nanny at the time, so I couldn't work because I couldn't lift the kids for 2 weeks. But other than that, I mean, it was nice. I just got to lay around.
That sounds
nice
great.
to be able to work. Yeah.
I mean, you might as well get something out of it, right?
Right. But like after 2 days, I was back to my normal self and feeling good. I mean, you look pregnant after you come out of that surgery. I don't know if, do y'all follow Olivia Colpo on Instagram?
Yes, I do. And I think you even sent me a picture after, like, I know this was years ago, but you sent me a picture of what you looked like afterwards, and you literally looked 6 months pregnant.
Yeah. That's insane.
So crazy.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's what you look like when you do meds for like egg retrievals and stuff too. I'm like, this is not fair for the brain.
Right? Oh my gosh, it like messes with you so much because you obviously want to get pregnant, and it's like,
right,
you like it, but you're not.
Right. So that was January 2018, and then April of 2018, I had my first egg retrieval. We got 12 eggs, 10 were fertilized. No, 10 were mature, 8 were fertilized, and we ended up with 5 embryos. And
That's
since
awesome.
I was under,
That's great. Great.
So happy. And since I was under 35, they didn't do any genetic testing or didn't see a reason to, since I didn't have egg quality issues. And so we did a fresh transfer, actually, which is unheard of, I feel like, these days. And it didn't work. That was in May. And after that,
kind of walk listeners through what a fresh transfer is, because I don't think we've had anyone on the podcast that's done a fresh transfer.
Yeah. I know, because they don't really do them. They like to control all your hormones now. So it's normally 5 days after your egg retrieval. And it's hard for me to remember that because that was 4 years ago. But you start after you come out of your egg retrieval, as long as you don't have like a crazy amount of eggs that you're at risk for OHSS, they'll go into a fresh transfer. If you do, they'll let everything kind of calm down and then do the frozen transfer. But they let the embryos grow to day 5, which is also nerve-wracking because you're going in for a fresh transfer. It's nerve-wracking fresh or frozen, but when you're going in for a fresh, you have the state already planned. You're already doing the progesterone shots, the estrogen, getting your body ready, and you're just hoping that there's an embryo to transfer.
So do you don't do any of the progesterone before the egg retrieval? You just basically start right after the egg retrieval?
Yeah, I think it was like a day or 2 after the egg retrieval.
That's so much on your body. And I know, like we're all saying, most clinics just do frozen now because it's shown better results. I'm assuming that's just because like your body gets a break and can get back to baseline. And
they can, baseline, and then they can control exactly how your hormones are. And like, I don't remember like the uterine lining scans with the fresh transfer. I don't remember them doing that. I remember them counting like Lennoxes.
So true.
So it's just,
Interesting.
it makes sense why they do frozen transfers now.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry for that. So you had your first IVF transfer and it was fresh and it did not work.
Yeah. And they put 2 embryos in, and one was like an excellent graded embryo. And then one was like a okay embryo, and they just didn't work. I was just under a lot of stress. We had just moved to Charleston, but we were still traveling back to Charlotte to see my fertility clinic because we'd only lived here for 2 months and I didn't want to have to establish new care since we're in the middle of everything. So I really think stress played a huge role in why that didn't work. And I just decided to take a break over the summer and get to know my new city and enjoy life a little bit when not on hormones.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. So in August of 2018, we did a transfer, and that was my daughter Lennox. And obviously it worked.
And did you transfer just one that time?
Yes. So we transferred everything down to Coastal Fertility, and it's kind of crazy that literally FedExed my embryos down.
I was going to ask about that. How was that process for you? Because like we adopted 3. And so obviously my son is from one of them. So we have 2 others that are frozen in Michigan, and I'm like petrified to move them. Like,
no,
so
it
I'm
was
like,
scary.
I need to go to Michigan every time because I'm
yeah. So thankfully the offices like help you. They're familiar with this. They give you all the information to call. And I think it's called Cryoport is who we used. But it's literally through FedEx on the froze, like a temperature controlled truck.
Literally. I mean, how crazy is that? Like your kid is just chilling on a on a truck. That's insane.
Yeah. So my fertility clinic in Charlotte called when they left, and then Coastal called me when they got here. So it was nice because it's only a 3-hour drive. Michigan, I would be nervous, it was nerve-wracking even like the 3-hour drive, but so we did the frozen transfer here with Dr. Schnorr, August of 2018. It worked, and then got pregnant, enjoyed pregnancy, enjoyed mom life for about a year and a half, and we knew we wanted to start trying to have a second kid right when she was close to 2 years old. So that was last year. January of 2021 is when we started meds for the second baby.
That's such it's just so interesting to hear, like, yes, IVF worked, etc. Like, that's so exciting. I have my daughter, but like, you're still, and I know you've always said this, which is like helped me get through things. You're like, I'll always be a part of the infertility community. Like, this is how I have to have my children.
Right. And it doesn't stop like after you have a baby. No matter what your journey is, just because you were successful one time doesn't mean infertility stops. Like I'm considered what they now have secondary infertility, I think it would be easier. We got it all figured out for the second kid. But God liked to play a little game. So, so January of 2021, we started doing the meds for the transfer in February. And I had 5 embryos from Lennox's. We did 2 for that first transfer that failed. Then it had 1 for Lennox. Then I had 2 embryos left. They were okay, great. One was like a really good grade, and then one was kind of blah, nothing special about it, but they were going to transfer both since one wasn't that good of a grade. Well, during thaw, the best one of those 2 did not survive the thaw. And we found this out on the morning of the transfer.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. Wait. So were you going to transfer 2 or, it was the higher graded didn't make it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And we were going to transfer both because one was not a good grade, and the chances of like thawing that and then freezing it back and then thawing it again.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just something to just kind of touch on, because I think most people don't even realize that either. Like you can go through the whole process of like prepping for transfer and everything and go in that morning of, and they still have to thaw out the embryo. And if it doesn't thaw out correctly, or like something goes wrong, like for instance, in your case, like then you don't have anything to transfer. Like that is, oh my goodness.
Right.
Like, that is heartbreaking.
It was. And you find this out the morning of your transfer, and it's supposed to be an exciting day, and you're supposed to have a good mindset. And so the best one didn't make it. And then the one that was kind of crappy had some damaged cells in the thaw. So they're like, we're still going to transfer. I think I had like a 20% chance of it making it, which is like still pretty good. That's like what normal people have.
Exactly.
Getting pregnant. But I'd already clocked out. I was like, this isn't going to work. And maybe my mindset had a little bit to do with it, but that one wasn't, it was more heartbreaking on the day of the transfer than finding out it didn't work.
Well, and you're like, okay, if this doesn't work, now I'm gonna have to start completely over and do an egg
Right.
retrieval,
Yes.
which is what you did.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Spoiler alert.
So it doesn't work. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. So at this point, this is your fourth total transfer, the third, or is it?
No, this was my
your
third transfer.
Third transfer. Okay, because you had
Yeah.
the two. So and then the second one worked. Okay.
Yes. And so, yeah, we're back at the starting point of having to do an egg retrieval again. And so I had never done an egg retrieval with Dr. Schnorr before, and he had me on a different protocol, similar to my protocol in Charlotte, but it was different, some different meds. Like I did Menopur with the transfer with Lennox, but I didn't do it for this transfer, for this egg retrieval. And so, sorry, I see neighbors walking by and it's distracting. Where was I?
So you
different protocol.
Yeah, which I think would be so difficult. And Amanda, you'll probably be similar, but like you're like, I know that XYZ worked. I know it worked. And you probably have so much resistance to anything that's different.
Oh, that would be me because I'm so type A. I literally have like the whole thing written out exactly. Like I want to stay in the same exact Airbnb when I go to Michigan because it has to be the same.
Yes.
But I know it's like probably not gonna happen, but I'm like, I would so get that. I'd be so resistant, I feel like, to changing.
Yeah. But at the time, so in retrospect now, I'm like, oh, I should have like noticed that and fought more for like my first protocol. But at the time, Schnorr got me pregnant with Lennox. So I was just like, okay, praise him. I'll just do whatever he says. So I didn't really think much of it. And so fast forward, we only got 6 eggs, and I'm not been diagnosed with diminished ovarian reserve or anything. Still being a little bit older doing this egg retrieval. So it was kind of devastating that we only got 6 eggs, in which I know for some people would kill to have 6 eggs. So please know I say that lightly, but and that meant that we were going to have to freeze these embryos on day 1. We were not going to let them grow out to day 5 because that's Coastal's policy. So if you only have, I think, 6 or less eggs make it to day 1, they freeze them and don't let them grow to day 5.
That is just mind blowing. And that's what we were talking about before we hit record. I know, because I would have been in the same situation. And I just think like, I just feel like if I didn't know, and I'd love to hear how it was for you, McKensie, but like, if I didn't know that it made it to day 5, I just feel like there's so much more pressure once you do transfer it. You're like, gosh, I don't even know if it was going to make it to begin with.
Right. So, it's just like, okay, here we go again, going into a transfer. It's just like, did we get my hopes up? It was just kind of like, or the egg retrieval. It was another devastating blow.
Yeah. So you got 6, and then on day 1, how many had fertilized?
I think only 4.
Okay. So then they freeze all 4, and then you get ready for the transfer and you got to see what makes it.
Yeah. And so, they froze all 4, and I think only 2 made it. So they transferred those 2.
Will they biopsy or anything, or is that just you opted out? They won't biopsy either.
They don't do it that early.
Well, yeah, that you can't biopsy. You can't even do PGT testing until day 5 or 6.
Until 5. Oh my! See, I would be like stressing hard.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. And like the picture of my embryo, like when you get your day 5 or day 6 embryo, you can see all the little cells in it. This one of them only had 2 cells, and one had 4. And they were supposed to both have 4 cells. It was just like, I was all in my head about it.
Well, and it's probably just, there's nothing to benchmark it off, which you really shouldn't like be on Google, but like you can't even like say like, oh, does this look good or not? Cause it's just a little bit more rare. I personally thought.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Dang.
So, and then I knew if this didn't work, here we are at ground zero again, having to do another egg retrieval. And I didn't have great results from last time. So I'm just like, last summer was like I was in a dark place.
Oh my gosh, I forget that it's only 2022. So this wasn't even a year ago.
No.
And if you don't mind me interrupting, like, cause I've always been really curious about quote unquote secondary infertility. And I know your story, you started with IVF, but like, how is that when you're raising like your daughter, who's such a miracle, and then you're also in such a depressive state with trying to have a second?
Yeah. It was hard. And then like, it seemed like every one of my friends was getting pregnant with their first or their second or their third. And you're just like, y'all look at your husbands and you get pregnant, and this just does not seem fair. And like, I grew up being like a babysitter and nanny. I went to school for elementary education. Like everyone calls me the baby whisperer. Like if I had it my way, I would have 4 or 5 kids, but that's just not in our books. So it was devastating. And then you also have people, you feel like you have to still be grateful for what you have. And I am, but it's like, I always pictured myself as a bigger family. I was an only child, so I knew I wanted to have more than one kid. And it just didn't seem fair that I had to work so hard to get this.
Absolutely.
Which I know y'all get.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you sharing that, because that has to put even more stress on you. You're like, well, and now I can't like openly, not complain, but I can't openly even talk about my IVF stuff because people are
Right.
like, oh, well, you already have a daughter, which is so unfair.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, have you gotten that a lot? I feel like probably listeners can totally relate to that. Like that family members, friends are like, well, you already have a child. Like,
yeah. Well, so Kat's gonna die at this story. I might have already told you, Kat, but whenever I found out, and we'll go back to my storyline, but whenever I found out my third transfer last year didn't work, my doctor called me and he goes, he's like, you sound really emotional about this. Maybe it's time that we take a break. Let's just look at things we should be grateful for. You already have a kid. You have 6 more embryos on ice. Da, da, da.
I have chills. That is not something you want to hear.
No. And this is the same day I found out it didn't work.
And you're like, if I am thankful I have a child, you're more than I know how thankful you are to be a mom and to have her as your daughter. But it's like, I'm clearly doing IVF because I feel like something's missing. So like, no, I'm not going to just stop or like, be like, oh, sorry, I guess it didn't work. Let me just go on with my day.
Right. Jeez. So that was just like another thorn in your side after a crappy day. But anyways, so yes, people have said that, including my own doctor.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. Okay. So we're back to where you froze 5 of them on day 1.
4. And then 2 didn't make the fall.
Yeah.
And then we transferred those 2. And I was a little bit more hopeful just because we were given a better percentage. I think he gave us 40% of these working. And I just felt like maybe this is our time, because we've had like bad news after bad news after bad news. And found out it didn't work. And so again, another heartbreak. Thankfully, we had like a wedding out of town that weekend that I found out. And so we just got to get out of town with some of our good friends and just got to let loose and have fun.
Yeah.
Which is what I needed. I thought I was going to take a break. But since I didn't have any embryos on ice, I was just like, I can't be wasting any time. Like, I need to take advantage of my eggs while I still have them. So we did another egg retrieval. We started gearing up for that in July. So that transfer was in June. We started gearing up for the egg retrieval in July. And he treated me like I had low ovarian reserve. He was like, we're just going to go for it. So I was like on Lupron depot shots for a while before the transfer, and testosterone cream, which those side effects are so fun.
Amanda, you did both of that, right? I know you did the testosterone. Did you do Lupron as well?
I did. Yeah. I did both of them.
Yeah.
I did better with the testosterone. I don't know if sorry, I just had to walk and grab Ben fast. But last part with what you said, McKenzie.
I was saying the last egg retrieval, he treated me like I had low ovarian reserve. So I did Lupron depot shots and testosterone cream. And I was saying the testosterone side effects were so fun.
Yeah, I like barely got any like really bad side effects. If anything, I felt like really good on it. And I think I said I on another on another episode we did, but I legit felt like I had like all this energy. Like I just was like, I didn't really have any weird side effects. I know some people got like acne and just like hormones and everything, and I was good.
It's crazy. And then after those for a couple weeks, I can't remember. We did Gono-F and low dose HCG, and then we did the Omnitrope, which is that
sounds like identical to my protocol.
Really?
They put me on Omnitrope too, which was so interesting because they normally don't do it unless you've had like a poor outcome from one cycle. It was like my first cycle, and he's like, we're going to do everything. Because doesn't that kind of, it's not really like studied a lot, but isn't that supposed to like increase your chance of higher graded eggs? Or
eggs. It really helps your egg quality.
Egg quality was so poor. So that's why we went on it.
Yeah. And Kat, they probably did it with you just because of reoccurring losses.
Yeah, exactly. And that one was hard because you had to mix it. Wasn't that like the powder that you had to like mix yourself, which was very confusing. But anyway.
Like, I legit sobbed, just side note. I sobbed because I thought I was doing it wrong. And then I like screamed at Chris. It was just not fun.
It's so overwhelming because it's like, we're not nurses and you just throw all these meds.
Like give you it and they're like, good luck. Like,
yeah.
Like, when I first started IVF, I was like, wait, you mean like I have to do it?
Right.
Like, I went to the doctor's office. They're like, yeah, you got this. So I'm like Googling YouTube, like everything.
Yeah.
To do it.
Oh yeah, my mom had like zero trust me. She's like, I'm sorry, you can't go get the nurse to do that. You're gonna do it, and I was like, yes.
It's so crazy, and now I'm just like, oh, I gotta give myself a shot. Okay.
Now we're pros. It's true.
Yeah. Someone in my neighborhood, she was like, I'm going through IVF and I'm nervous. Is there any nurses in here that can help me do my shots? And there was like 4 of us. They're like, we can help you. We're not nurses, but
I can do it better. Yeah. Okay, so this is your third egg retrieval.
Third egg retrieval. And this was in August of 2021. So last August. We had great results. I ended up getting 18 eggs from this one.
Wow.
And of those 18 eggs, I think it was like a crazy number, like maybe 16 were mature. And then of those 16, 11 were fertilized. And then like when do you get the next results after you fertilize? I can't remember, like day 2 or day 3?
Day 3, but I think every clinic kind of does it different, but
yeah. So day 3, I still had 11 embryos in the running.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like a huge proponent on the ometrope. I'm like, that has to be it. And then by day 5, or day 6, I had 7 embryos, and I had, I think, 5 day 5 and 2 day 6 embryos.
That's awesome. Those are really, really good.
No, actually, I'm sorry. To day 5, I had 11 make it all the way to day 5. I ended up with only 7 that came back genetically normal.
I'm like kind of laughing over here because we did our egg retrieval at the exact same time. Like I think it was a few weeks apart. So I've never heard your results because I think you felt so bad.
Yeah, I didn't want to share them with you.
Felt so bad for me. You're like, oh yeah, mine with that. But I mean, in your defense, you're like, yes, I have been through poor cycles, and I'm gonna celebrate my own, but I'm gonna do that over here privately.
Yes. I was like, I'm just not going to share these numbers with her right now.
That's okay. We're all good now.
That's
awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we ended up with 7 genetically normal embryos to have, which is crazy because I was like, we're not having 7 more kids. I mean, I would love to, but I'm 36. So.
And you're kind of in the back of your mind, like, oh, thank gosh, I don't think I'll ever have to do an egg retrieval again. And
it finally felt like a victory, like the victory we needed, because we just had not had any in 2021 yet. And this is like 8 months after we started the whole journey for the second kid. So it was like a big win. And then I didn't go straight into a transfer in September, just because we had like a couple weddings we were going out of town for. That's the beauty of IVF, is like you can schedule it whenever it works best for your schedule. So we scheduled that transfer in October, and it was like a perfect embryo, like 4AA. Is that like the best grade? I don't think I would know this by now.
Well, I think all clinics are so different, because I remember I told Amanda what mine was, and she's like, I don't think we have that at ours, but
yeah. And found out that one didn't work, and that was the most devastating blow of the whole second kid journey, because it was a perfectly embryo, genetically tested, all the things, and it did not work. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, or maybe we're just not meant to have another kid. That's where my mindset went. So we paused, and I was like, after my doctor told me he thinks I need to take a break, I was like, I'm not taking a break. And then I calmed down. I was like, I think I need to take a break. I never told him he was right, though.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah. All right. So we decided to take a break, but I was going to do the ERI testing to gear up for my next transfer that we knew we were not going to do until 2022, just to make sure we were doing everything right. And it came back with my results that the meds needed to be altered only by 3 hours difference. The ERA stands for endometrial receptivity. You probably know, Kat. What is it?
It's like ASSAY. I think it's just if your endometrial is receptive to the.
Yeah. And so it can come back.
IVF, because in IVF, it's not natural technically. You're trying to time your body up with when you put the embryo.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so with the ERA, they can tell you, like, do you need more hours of progesterone or do you need less hours? So mine was, I needed less hours by 3 hours. So which means I started my progesterone an hour later, and then my transfer was 2 hours earlier than they normally do. And then I also did estrogen patches for this transfer. For the ERA. And he was like, maybe the patches are what was the difference too. So he was like, we're staying on the patches and we're going to do it by 3 hours. And so that was in November. So we decided to take a break over the holidays. I just didn't want to have to deal with the stress of infertility and maybe getting another negative. So we decided to take a break. And then January came and I was like, I'm still not ready to do another transfer. And then the beginning of February, I was like, I think I'm ready, but not to transfer this month. So we ended up getting ready to transfer. March 3rd was our transfer. So started meds in February and found out I cheated 5 days after my transfer and found out that it worked. And I'm currently 10 weeks pregnant.
Congratulations. Like that I don't know if I would have kept going. I mean, I would have kept going, but that's so hard. Failure after failure after failure.
Yes, it was very hard. But as I know with my first daughter, it is all worth it in the end.
See,
and you can't see it until you're on the other side.
Exactly. So you transferred 1 in March. Is that correct?
Correct. So we still have 5 left. And
that's what I was going to ask. So how many do you have left? So 5. Wow. Okay.
5. So I don't think I can do this again. 2021 was all trying to get pregnant, and I just want my body back and my mind back after this kid. So it's boring. So after this baby girl is born, it's a girl.
Yeah. So you're gonna have 2 girls. Yeah. And my gosh, because really this whole thing started for you in 2016. Is that right? Like with the surgery?
I mean, yeah, it was like a month after we got married. We got married in 2016, but I started having like the conversations with my doctor at the end of.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so nice. You'll have your second baby and then you can, I mean, it's been your whole marriage. That's something that's really unique where it's been from day one.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm sure Chris is ready to have his wife back too.
I'm sure. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. That's exciting.
Yes. So exciting. Even though I'm not as sick as you, Kat, but not feeling so great. I'll take it though. The symptoms mean I'm still pregnant.
and that's what I was going to say. So you actually ended up cheating early because your symptoms, which I think this is interesting, your symptoms were so different with this one than they were with like your other transfers and even your daughter, right?
Yeah. And I was sick with Lennox, but it didn't start until like 6 weeks. This one started like, I feel like day 1. I was having like GI issues on day 5, and I hadn't eaten anything abnormal or crappy. Like it was just my normal diet. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to go take a test. And I told myself I was not going to test early, but I ordered some on Amazon and they came in at like 5:36 and I tested at 5:40.
That is so fun. I literally did I tested on day 5 as well. And I
really?
went to Target and I was like, okay, I'm just going to pick up a test, but I'm not going to test today.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, because it was afternoon. It was like later in the day. I'm like, it's not going to come up positive. I need to wait till my morning pee anyway.
Yeah.
And there was no way in hell that I was waiting when the test was right there. And so I tested at 5 in the afternoon. That's so funny.
Y'all, I tested on day 4. I mean, it was positive, but we all know how that one ended. But it was my birthday. So I was like, I just want to know.
Yeah. Oh.
So I guess I got like a fake birthday present. I don't know, whatever. It's all fine.
Yeah.
So this will be actually really interesting for listeners. So with an IVF pregnancy, because McKensie and I are like parallelly pregnant. I think I'm only like, I haven't told anyone how far along I am, but I'm a little bit further along than you. How is that different? Because I think maybe people that are going through IVF that haven't gotten to the pregnancy piece, can you kind of speak on how it's different once you get pregnant, what that looks like with monitoring for the fertility clinic when you graduate, and then the extra perks you might get at an OB?
Yeah. So this is the best part of going through IVF and getting pregnant is all the extra monitoring and blood work and confirmation that there's a little baby in there. So day 5, I tested, came back faintly positive. And then the craziness began and kept just testing, make sure the line was getting darker. And my blood test was on Friday. And that was actually 8 days past my transfer, which is they normally test on 9 days, but it was 9 days fell on a Saturday. So they did it early, thankfully. And so you test and my numbers came back great. And then you go back in normally 48 hours after that first blood draw. But again, it was a weekend. So I went on Friday and had to go back in on Monday. My numbers tripled, which was exactly what they wanted to see. And then the waiting game begins because after that second blood work, actually I went in for 3 blood works. It depends on your doctor. Cause with Lennox, I only went in for 2, but this time they wanted me to come in for 3.
I've always been curious about this. So because you hadn't experienced loss, like when you got that really good beta, were you like, I'm confident, or you were still terrified?
Oh, I'm still terrified. Yeah. I'll be terrified until that baby's born.
Yeah. Well, me too. Me too. Yeah, no, that's a really good perspective, because I think Amanda, you said the same thing, and I know you've experienced loss, but I think anytime you're going through IVF, everything's just you're hanging on by a thread for every single piece.
Yeah. Right. And even though I feel like crap right now, so I know that there's a baby in there. Like I had a doctor's appointment this week where I saw a cat at. It's just you're still nervous every time you go in for an ultrasound, and it's much better when you can start to feel the baby move, because then there's just more confirmation there. But the first trimester, it just sucks.
I think so too. And so to Mackenzie's point, so you get these betas, be it 2 or 3, and then there's nothing they can do for you. There's nothing they can see. There's nothing they can do for you. So then what is it, like 3 weeks that you just have to
Well,
wait?
no,
It's not
it's
that
2
long.
weeks. So I went in at 4. I was 4 in 2 days when I went in for that second beta. So then I was 4 in 5 days when I went in for that third beta.
You're
So
right.
then you don't go for an ultrasound until you're 6 weeks. So
Yes.
it was like a week and a couple of days
Yeah.
that I went in for that first ultrasound. And this time it was terrifying because I went in like 6 and 2 days for this ultrasound. With Lennox, I went in at like 6 and 5 days for the ultrasound, and just the way that the timing worked. And obviously Lennox was way more further along, and those 3 days apparently can make a huge difference in the 6 weeks. So we were in the ultrasound room and I see the sac, but I don't see anything in it. And Dr. Schnorr, I can tell he's getting nervous. So he's like looking around. He's like, I see a flicker, so we're good. But he's like, we're going to switch rooms to a better ultrasound machine
Oh
room.
my gosh, no. You had to
Yeah.
switch rooms. You had to like
Yeah.
get fully dressed and switch rooms.
Well,
Oh.
I just wrapped my robe around me and we just walked
You're like,
across the
no,
hall.
we're going right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So thankfully, when we got to the other room, we got to see the heartbeat flickering, and it was flickering really well. So it wasn't that worried, but it wasn't like, I remember the picture I got from Lennox, it looked like I could tell what it was. This one I couldn't.
You make such good points, because I've had like the blighted ovum where you can't see. And so that first ultrasound, I had a full on panic attack with this pregnancy before the very first ultrasound. Because you're like, is it going to be empty? What am I going to see?
Right.
Is it going to be the yolk sac? But you can't, because when you're getting monitored that early, one day can make a huge difference.
Yeah. And so I was comparing myself, like I couldn't even relax, even though he saw the heartbeat and he was like, McKensie, we're good. The chances of miscarriage, apparently when they can see like the heart and like measure the thing, it goes down to like 10%, 20% maybe when you're 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets a 6-week appointment, obviously. So people don't always get that lucky news. And so he was like, you're good, McKensie, we're going to see you at the 8-week appointment. It's fine. But I still just didn't relax. Thank God, Charleston, what was it? Charleston Midwives?
Oh yeah. So What the Fertility has a local support group, and there's 9 of us that are currently pregnant out of the 60 girls. And so we've removed ourselves and we're all now in like a new pregnancy group, which is amazing. But I guess someone sent us a link. They were like, they're doing training, these ultrasound techs training, sign up if you want some free ultrasound. So all of us signed up for it.
So, and that just happened to fall on my 7-week, because with IVF, you get a 6-week ultrasound and then you don't go back till 8 weeks. So that's another 2 weeks. I feel like it's always 2 weeks that you're waiting.
I think it depends on the clinic or the OB too. Like because I'm getting like all my transfers are in Michigan. So all my monitoring is here in Charlotte. And so I'm going to my OB, not like a fertility clinic.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, because so my original fertility clinic that I used here in Charlotte before I did embryo adoption, I would have been at the fertility clinic, but because my clinic is out of town, they had to work with my OBGYN. And so I went every week. I went at 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I swear. I went every single week and got an ultrasound.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. I will say with reoccurrent loss, apparently there's research shown that early intervention and early monitoring actually makes a difference. And my doctor's so cute. He's like, we'll see you every 6.5, 7 days. And I mean, yeah, I got to scan at 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9. Yeah. I think by 12 weeks, then they push me out by like 2 or 3 weeks. And that's just too much.
Yeah. Well, with the training that they were doing, I've lucked out to have an ultrasound every week starting at
Yeah.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
So 7 weeks at the ultrasound training, their machines were like insane. Did you go, Kat?
I didn't go because they were only doing first trimester, and by
Oh,
the
that's
they
right.
did second trimester, but they were all booked up. And I think I was like right just turned 13 weeks. So I was getting out
Yeah.
of the
So their technology was insane. They're like, we're just going to do a tummy ultrasound just to see, just for the training. And they could actually see the baby from the tummy ultrasound at 7 weeks.
Wow.
Like,
that's insane. Yeah, because
know.
I didn't switch till I think 9.5 weeks that they did that.
Yeah. I mean, and you couldn't like, there's no way they could have measured or anything like that or see the heartbeat, but they were just like, and they don't do that on the tummy that early because it's not safe. But it was cool just to see. And then when they did the transvaginal, and I was like, Coastal, y'all need to step up your ultrasound.
That's awesome. And that's at the Charleston Birth Center, I think.
Yeah, that's what
right?
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Charleston Birth Center. So that's more like the holistic natural birth center that they have here in Charleston.
Right.
Awesome. I don't have anything like that in Charlotte more. I think there used to be one, and I think it went closing.
It did. I'm originally from Charlotte, so
okay, yeah.
I remember that closing. It was, I think, right around when I moved here.
Really?
Yeah. And so then went back to Schnorr at 8 weeks, and you could see the baby much better than the first time I was there. Measured everything, graduated. See you later. Don't ever want to see you again. And then had a 9-week ultrasound this past week at my OB, and everything was good.
It was hilarious. McKensie and I were both, I mean, it just was random. Like we were both at the doctor's. It was yesterday, right?
Thursday.
I don't know what the days are. Thursday, and I'm getting worked up, and one of the MAs comes in and says, "Hey, she has an ultrasound first." And I said, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like really psycho. I added it on last night." And Mackenzie's head flips around and she's like, "Hey, Kat." So yeah, you had a great ultrasound. I had a great ultrasound.
Yes.
Everything. That's
now, are you still doing the progesterone shots?
No. So they have me stop them right at night, like 8 weeks and 6 days.
Okay.
Yeah, which is in Charlotte, they have them stop them at like 10 weeks.
Oh yeah, I went till I again, like Kat, hey, I'm crazy too, so it's fine. But I went till 13 weeks. I was like, I'm not stopping because I feel like it's the only thing that's like making the baby okay. And so I was like, but they told me I could have stopped at 10 weeks, but yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. So but I was glad to be done with those, man.
Oh my gosh,
shots. Gosh, that is I like just love your story. I think that would have been just this whole second, I don't want to say secondary infertility, but that is exactly what it's classified as. I just think that'd be so hard because it would be so frustrating. You're like, I know I can get pregnant. I know I can hold a pregnancy. And I think for both, well, not this pregnancy, but like for your first pregnancy, it was super uneventful, right? It was, you got pregnant and it was just flew right by, and you had your daughter. And so then you're like, why is this not working?
Right. Yeah. It's just, and I've said to people before, like if the transfer before Lennox would have worked, then I probably would not have Lennox. So if the transfer in November would have worked, or October, I probably would not have this baby because we would have been done. And so this baby was meant to be ours and meant to be in this world. So
I love that. For the very first time ever, I said that to my husband last night. We like went and picked up my medicine at like 10 p.m. And I'm like, I feel like I can finally resonate back and be like, those 6 losses were horrible, but like we wouldn't have this specific child right now. And I'm sure you feel that way about Ben too, Amanda.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yep. Well, especially because I never would have walked the road of embryo adoption. So like there would have been no way possible that we would have had him. So
he was meant to be yours. You're meant to be his mama. Yeah.
I love that. Well, McKensie, is there anything that you could like share with listeners if maybe, they've gone through several transfers and they're kind of like, I just want to give up? Is there any advice or insight you have for them?
It's so hard, but find your community. Even if you need to look me up on Instagram or Facebook, you can reach out to me, but just find people that are going through it and that you can talk to with it. Cause that's like the hardest part. Like, yeah, you can talk to your friends, your family, your husband or your partner about it, but it's just not the same because no one's going to fully get it unless they're going through it. And you just need someone to talk to that's going through it, that fully understands your downs and your highs and can get you through it. And then I think I've said this a ton in like the group, but be an advocate for yourself. If you feel something's not right, change doctors or like when I wanted to do that IUI, even though my doctor wanted me to do the surgery, he listened to me, and I'm glad he did. Even though I probably should have listened to him. But just be an advocate for yourself, because it's your body, your money, a lot of money. So that's my two biggest things: find your community and be an advocate for yourself.
I love that. Yeah, you helped me a lot. I mean, we didn't really even know each other, and you completely walked me through my first egg retrieval. So we will tag, if you're comfortable, it sounds like you are, we'll tag your Instagram handle.
Yeah.
You're a wealth of knowledge. You've been through this probably more than the majority of people. And so, yeah, definitely reach out to McKensie. But thank you so much for being on with us. I loved hearing your whole story.
Thanks for having me, ladies. I'm glad we're all getting our happy endings.